Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Vitamin Water was born in New York because New Yorkers wanted more. Like more flavor to go with all the flavor. A refreshing drink after climbing 6 flights of stairs to a walk-up apartment, or standing in the subway station in 100-degree heat. Focus when I have an 8-hour shift, and Triple X after I was out all night at a club. Call Triple X. Drink vitamin water. It's from New York.
The story of two families who move sharing an apartment without knowing that the place hid a dark and spooky secret that would unleash very creepy paranormal events. Welcome to another episode of Chronicles of the Unexplained podcast. The story that I bring you today happened to a friend. It is very spooky. Hope you enjoy it. My name is Monica, and the following story happened to me in 2004 in a city in South Texas. To give you all a little bit of context, I worked in a well-known restaurant and my managerial job was to arrive very early, around 5 a.m. in the morning, to make sure everything was ready on time. The staff in the kitchen, the waiters, etc. At the time, I lived alone with my 6-year-old son, a friend and co-worker with whom I have an excellent relationship. We decided to rent an apartment to share expenses and live the 5 of us. She has 2 children more or less the same age as mine. We made a plan. We looked for apartments near to the restaurant and we found a very nice complex at a very good price. The apartment was on the first floor, and the pool was right in front. We were all very excited and happy. The day of the move arrived. We had everything ready, and we started moving our belongings. Once settled, the first night arrives. We got to sleep, and I didn't sleep all night. It is worth mentioning that I am a person who has a very heavy sleep, and I have never had problems sleeping. And not only that, but for me to sleep is sacred. I don't remember having ever had insomnia in my life until I came to live in this place. A couple of days go by and surprisingly, I still can't sleep. The first thing I thought was that I was tired from the move. I was trying in some way to justify what was happening, although after a few days, I began to suspect that something was not right in that place, and I didn't dare to ask my friend Julieta. That she later told me that from day one, she couldn't never sleep either. The first incident that happened to me was when one day I was lying in the living room. There was a large window with vertical blinds that looked out towards the pool. I was trying to fall asleep, and just as I was about to, I could hear the movement of the blinds. And when I opened my eyes, I could see how they moved. That to me was weird, however, didn't pay attention. I tried several times to fall asleep, but as I was about to fall asleep again, I heard the same sound of the blinds swaying again. It was as if someone was there to make sure I didn't sleep. And as I told you at the beginning, my sleep is very deep and it's very rare that external sounds prevent me from sleeping. I always try to find a logical explanation. At first, I thought it was probably the air conditioning. I got up to make sure where that air current was coming from. I couldn't find anything. I went back and tried to sleep, but I couldn't, because this same pattern was present all night, to such an extent that I used to see the clock all the time and wished that time would pass, and the time seemed eternal for me to get up and go to work. In that first incident, I couldn't see anything, at least until that moment. But it was clear to me that something was happening in that place, and I immediately remembered the words of my new neighbor when she saw us moving. "Good afternoon, are you moving to the apartment in front of the pool?" And I answered, "Yes, hi, my name is Monica." And she just said, "Let's see how long the pleasure lasts." That was weird to me. However, I didn't want to pay attention. One day my mom and my sisters come to visit, and I tell them about what happened. My mom tells me, "Daughter, maybe it's a premonition or a sign. Be careful with the children. Don't take your eyes off them." My mom was referring to the fact that the pool was right in front of the apartment. One of my sisters gave me an image of St. Jude, since she has a lot of faith in him, and she told me, "Pray so that he will intercede for you before God our Lord." Trying to convince myself that there must be some logical explanation, I decided to invite one of my friends to spend a weekend with an excuse that I was going to be alone. I proposed to Miriam, my friend, to stay to watch movies, have a few drinks, and be able to talk quietly. But the reality is that I needed to see if she could detect that something strange was happening or it was just my imagination. Miriam, my friend, accepts my invitation and arrives at the apartment. Everything goes normally. We start talking, and when it's time to go to sleep, I tell her, "You're at home, feel comfortable yourself. I'm going to sleep because I have to get up early for work." The next day, as usual, I got up at 5 a.m. in the morning, got ready, and when I was about to leave, I told my friend, "I'm going to work, get dressed, and see you later." She replies, nodding her head that it was fine, but she asked, "Is this how you sleep?" To which I replied, "Why? What are you talking about?" And she says to me, "You were moving all night, you got up all the time, and I noticed that you were behaving very strangely, like sleepwalking." I replied, "Well, I don't remember anything." I get to my work, I start my routine as usual, but in less than an hour of working, she arrives. Miriam, although it was something I didn't expect, I immediately imagined that something had happened. She arrived in a very hurried way. I noticed her strange and I asked her, "What happened? What are you doing here?" To which Miriam replies, "Something is happening in your apartment. Maybe you won't believe me, but I got up, went to the bathroom, and when I was brushing my teeth, I started to feel something. I don't know. It was something I can't describe. I didn't see anything, but I felt like someone was watching me. It was a horrible feeling. It started to scare me so much that I couldn't be there for another minute. I felt a kind of, let's say, relief when I heard this, because I felt that I wasn't going crazy. There was a proof that there was indeed something in the apartment. Miriam, my friend, left so quickly that she forgot her keys and left without putting the lock on. The days go by and the atmosphere in the place is more and more tense. The demonstrations were getting louder. The next thing that happened was in the kitchen. We began to see how every morning all the drawers were open. Then it was not only the drawers but all the doors of the cupboard. They woke up completely wide open. At first we thought it was the children playing, but the upper cabinets were something that the children could not reach. One day we left all the drawers and doors of the cupboard wide open, and they woke up all closed. And not only that, but they used the dish dryers to tie the handles of the doors and drawers. It got to the point where we didn't know what to do. The kids woke up in the middle of the night scared. On one occasion, my friend's little girl said she heard a dog growl in her bedroom window. This was not possible. On the other side of her bedroom's window, there was a ravine. The situation was getting worse. We heard sounds every day. We had no pets. There was no way to find an explanation for those strange growls. All the people that were in the apartment experienced not only scary situations but strange phenomena. Like one of my sisters, after we moved, she told me that while she was there briefly, one day she noticed a heaviness in the place, and while she was in the kitchen doing the dishes, the radio turned on by itself. Also, she observed in the hallway closet that there was a stack of books, and on the very top was a stuffed animal placed like if someone had put it there to make it noticeable. However, neither were there when she got to the apartment. This was affecting us a lot, so I decided to contact the tenant who lived before us in the apartment under the excuse that he received mail. When I asked him directly, "Hey, tell me something. Did you see or experience something strange in the apartment?" He answers, "Look, I recommend that you sleep with the doors closed. Don't leave them open. I saw a shadow that passed from one bedroom to another. Close the doors at night and at least you can sleep without so much problem." There came a point when we all decided to sleep in the living room, but even so, the children woke up and turned around fearfully looking towards the hallway. One day when we were all asleep in the middle of the night, we began to hear how the knob of the front door moved, and both the sound and the movement were intensifying more and more and more. No one dared to look out of the window. We were in a state of terror that is difficult to describe. The children began to cry and we didn't know what to do, to such an extent that it seemed that the door was going to be knocked down. In a state of panic, we could hear that someone or something was moving it in such a way that we were only praying and waiting for the door not to be knocked down. That was the last thing we could bear. The next day we decided to leave the apartment. It had been barely 4 weeks. We didn't mind paying the penalty to end the contract. When we were packing to vacate the apartment, well, the reality was that we never finished unpacking. 2 friends came to help us move our belongings, and one of them, a few hours later, began to feel very bad. He felt that he could not breathe. He was so scared that the other friend had to take him to the hospital, as he saw it very badly. We realized later that a murder had occurred in that place. A man had murdered his wife because he realized that she was cheating on him. They were the longest and scariest days of my life, and although all that is behind me to date, just remembering sends me chills to my spine. If you liked the episode, please share it with someone you know loves paranormal or unexplained stories. Follow me on different podcast platforms to receive notifications whenever a new episode comes out. Follow me on social media where I share previews of new episodes before they are published. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as unexplained.enigma. Facebook, Chronicles of the Unexplained. Thanks for listening and see you all in the next unexplained story.